Okay, we're standing by for Neil. We got him. Come on in. WTF is TS. Oh. Oh. We'll sort that out. Neil, I'm about to tell you no. You say forget it. Quit and leave the hangout. That. I'll wait minutes. nature. That's right, old lady. Bit of the juice. Makes everything better. Whoa. She ain't fucking around. Yeah. Well, you feel the vibes. Yeah, I don't know, it's very loud. No, she's a photograph.
Happens.
Grandma takes her little. That lady needed a stimulant.
I have no idea what's going on.
Let me get out of it. I'm just watching a movie, Pocket Full of Miracles, while I wait for you. Let me stop this. So I was screen sharing. There's a little lag there, but there we go. Stop screen sharing. He's the one and only Neil Thompsn, is it not?
Yes.
You want me to start a fresh hangout?
Something's wrong with your speaker.
Oh, with my microphone?
Yeah.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you. It just sounds compressed and weird.
Oh, I don't have my fancy speaker hooked up. There's a fan going.
Oh, just a little bit of static and stuff. That's all. I can still understand you.
Oh, static. Is that any better?
I don't know. Keep talking.
Okay.
No, it's still there.
How about that?
No. Anyway, it might just be me. I'm going to get my friend to check it out. Area, click it. Get in here.
Area, click it.
No, not you, him.
No, I know.
Sorry, I'm on TeamSpeak. So I'm on 3 TeamSpeaks.
TeamSpeak.
That's why I don't understand why you're not on these. How do people not know this? I went through all the United States and was like, I mean, what was his name? Oh, God. Right on the tip of my tongue. Mark. He had this idea, like he was like blown away by this concept of just hanging out and talking all the time. It's like, yeah, that's
Mark Span.
Yeah, that's how we do it. We just, he was like jumping into these things like, you can do this? Like, yeah. Like, it's a lot more convenient than Skype. You don't have to make a call. You basically just hop in the room and see who's online, and you're like, okay, I want to jump in. And when you're done, you don't actually have to leave. You can just go AFK, and then people know. That's kind of a...
That sounds a lot like Google Hangouts.
Well, yeah, except that I don't know what the hell a Google Hangout is, and it makes weird sound. And this is made to run the background of your thing while you're playing a game. So it's...
My YouTube... Oh, okay. See, mine's made to run in the background of my YouTube channel live.
Is that what's happening? That's what you're doing?
Yes. But I'll get on TeamSpeak. I'm a team player.
No, I'm just saying you can do it whatever the hell you want. It's just that if you ever want to know where we're at any time, and you just want to know, like, you can just go, you can go on there and go, hey, where's Neil? And they'll like be like, well, he said he was going here. He's dropping by my house later, and blah, 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 blah. So he'll probably be home in like an hour and a half. Okay. Like, that's how much we talk. So that's how we roll.
They sound quite nice, especially if I could find Mark Span over there.
Well, Mark Span's been here.
Well, send me a link.
I mean, Todd Kleckner is right on here. No, I already gave it to you. Just go download the program.
Oh, okay, very good.
I gave you the server. The server is just where we, like, you can go to any server in the world, and the cool thing is you can set them up for your particular group, right? So there's one that I'm on for this other group that I play Mech Warrior with. So there's one. There's another one I play another game with that's sitting there. Now I'm in the AFK channel in both of those because I don't really care if I'm talking to them. On this one, though, we're up in the lounge hanging out, and there's a bunch of people who are like, we give it to our friends. Like, if you ever want to do something in here, you just go, well, here, go grab TeamSpeak, jump in, and you could just go grab a room or make a room or whatever. So I'm presenting to everyone.
Yes, well, you're not known for your lack of, what do they call that? Early adoption of technological innovation.
Well, this is, yeah, we've been doing this for many years. I mean, back in the, what was it called? Quake 3, and you need to, I mean, that whole problem of typing while shooting guns is really difficult. So, pretend guns in a game.
Yes.
Obviously, shooting zombies in your favorite zombie thriller, whatever.
You don't have to qualify that shit. Art is art and reality is reality.
Well, in fact, I met Area. Area, you here yet? Or are you feeding animals or something? He has many animals.
Somebody, I won't say who, said that they heard from somebody, I don't know who, that you were possibly a paid shill infiltrating the electric universe. And I'm like, well, let's wish him well anyway.
What? That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
I wish. I love paranoia now. Who's paranoid of me?
Oh, nobody. They just said what they heard, and I'm not going to say because I don't want to be like.
No, but that's awesome. How do you get that way?
You wouldn't say who said it to him, and I'm not going to say who said it to me.
Yeah, but the trouble is, I've heard this about other people. People have been paranoid of this shit. You know, like I mean, really. You know, when I remember how disheartened someone was when I wouldn't basically, and I don't want to say it this way, I wouldn't believe in magic. You know, I'm an electrical engineer. I know what you can't really do. Now, you can do some things that are almost like magic, but the things you can't do is go over efficiency or I mean, maybe there's a way that you're drawing power from something through, you know, reciprocal capacitance or other things like that. And I've seen events like that, but I've never seen anything that violates the laws of physics. And if I do, I tend to question it immediately. So, I mean, some people go, you're an anti-believer. Well, no, I'm just someone who really requires some definite proof. This is why when I say something about, like, if I go, I'm not sure about climate change, I'm really have a problem with that. That's a big issue. Even though I'm generally on the side of Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye, generally speaking, in the whole let's be scientifically literate. That's their big message. I appreciate that. I don't want them to believe in scientism, however. That's where I, you know, sort of draw the line, like, oh, no. So, you know, if I have 90% of what they say is good, I'm kind of on board with that. But as long as, you know, I'll respectively challenge whatever. I remember when I had some really big questions about the moon, most of them engineering questions. And then that new batch of pictures came out where I got to see a lot of the rover movements with the wheels and how the dirt was falling on a parabolic arc, which, you know, with no dust, that's a good sign right there. And then the other one was the those bright transient lunar events, like the sprites, but on, you know, lightning on the moon, basically. And they couldn't, and there's little balls of it in the background. They didn't even realize they were taking pictures of this shit, but it's there. And so I was like, okay, well, then I have, you know, that seems to indicate to me that whatever fakery or assholishness, because I've seen some pretty damning footage, obviously, of them doing some damning things. Like, did they fake the first one, but go later? That's possible. Maybe they did that. Maybe, you know, that wouldn't surprise me. But does that mean that they didn't go? Well, no, that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't go either. That could be the big conspiracy right there. That could be why things were weird. But let's not dwell. I don't really know. But what I do know is that they did take pictures on the moon. That I do know. So that was kind of...
My hypothesis is that the men couldn't be returned and died there, and they sent back stuff. They sent back stuff with the... It was a one-way trip for those.
Well, I don't see any reason for that. Although I do see some interesting problems with the Challenger disaster and that whole "are they still alive" thing. I was like, wow, that's pretty damning. You know, well, of course. No, of course it could be. I enjoy speculation. The question is, don't believe. I mean, when I say belief is the antithesis of science, I mean that on the whole, like having an idea about something and not going to change it, which is a belief, is bad. Basing your entire thing around beliefs is usually bad. Although there should be some that are really good. Like, for example, I have a belief that my mother loves me. It's simple. And I also believe that my dad and my sister love me. And most of my family, I think, generally thinks I'm pretty swell in my extended family. So putting that whole thing on the whole, that might not be true. There might be a few people in my family who don't dislike me, but that belief sustains me in a good way. So I can see that as a good thing. Having a good, family upbringing can give you that confidence. But I've placed my belief in other things, and oh man, when they turned out not to be true. Oh, that was there's your your midlife crisis is right there. The whole thing falls apart.
That your foundation.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole thing. And so
your foundation in transcendent things.
Yeah, transient. Yeah, whatever.
No, not transient. Transcendent. Love is transcendent.
Well, I could say that some people can be very clinical about the description of love, but in the sense that it drastically affects me, then yeah, I believe in love. So, I can talk about it in a clinical way, but in the end of the day, I totally, I'm with that. I'm with that music.
That's good.
Well, it makes it, if nothing else, even in your most banal of forms, you could say it is the spice that flavors everything else. I mean, it's what makes art. Like if it doesn't hit you emotionally, what's the point? I mean, sometimes you can find beauty and that sort of sense of love in a non-artistic form, such as a circuit. I've done that. I've gone, oh my God, this is so friggin' elegant. Who drew this? Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? The way that he separated everything into these clear groupings, so that you understood where everything was very clearly, very well designed, But I guess that's more appreciation. But still.
Sounds like you've grown quite a bit.
Okay.
I mean, not to say that, I have any measure of that, but...
No, but I can't even understand why someone would think that I'm just so interested now that I'm a threat or something. I'm just so, oh God. I remember when I having this conversation about someone else. So I have a pretty good idea who you heard it from. And because of that, that sounds like something they would say. Let's just say it that way. Now, but they're fantastic. When I was like, no, wait a minute. Why would you think that? Really? Because I mean, don't get me wrong, but this is also the same feeling I have with regards to people who go, the New World Order, is coming for you. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second. I agree that there's a whole whack of different organizations that have some sort of global agenda. And I believe that some of them are working together and some of them are not working together. They're playing another game. So that's not even including the general people of the planet. So to think that it's a real, I mean, the image of its monolithic power makes people feel afraid and can cause them to be exactly what you're saying right there, pretty paranoid. But they're still on the sane side. Don't get me wrong. I'm just a little bit more worried about things that are beyond their control. And also I noticed that the other thing that I had in similarities with this other person is that we're both talkative and charismatic. So when both of us got in the same room together, we had a wonderful conversation about so many interesting topics. We talked for about 3 or 4 hours, and it turned out to be eye-opening. And I hope that he took away something from it, and I took away something from it. I learned what his conspiracies ideas are, and I thought they were good. And I had to correct him on a few misconceptions, but I don't know if he caught on. Well, I think he caught on, but we were pretty stoned. So, but like I said, it's definitely good paranoia. I mean, be concerned if you need to be concerned.
Well, we shouldn't hand ourselves over naked to wolves.
Well, duh.
That we should consider other wolf packs. Other wolf packs may join ours if we can sufficiently.
Well, there's basically den mothers who look out for people in the pack, and then there's alphas who automatically challenge each other, and we did, but I knew that we could never really be friends. I mean, pure friends. Like, I could hang out with them and we'd be pretty cool and things would be awesome. But because we're both powerful personalities, so you can't really, you can't ever have these wonderful, well, some people can have ego issues, let's just put it that way, and it has to do with the way you control a crowd and read other things and read people. But anyway, you know, you're grabbing my friend left. Douche. He's a douche. Anyway.
Well, Neil, are you getting a little nervous as the conference approaches?
No.
Liar.
No, I'm not. In fact, things have been, I was more concerned, we'll say, when I was the first MC on the docket, because that would require me to set the tone for the whole thing, the whole conference, basically, because my words are the first words. So what was I going to say? So I was coming up with some meaningful phrases, something to inspire and to talk about the future and so forth. Now they'll be relegated to a lesser, I don't want to say it that way, but not the first day. So just not the first day. So I won't have, I'll have no problem knowing who's up, because I'll have a month or two to prepare, and I'll watch everything that they've ever done. And I will definitely have something to say when I'm on stage. I know it will just come off the top of my head, I'm sure, but I'll probably put a little thing to remind myself of things that impress me about them, and then I'll go from there. It shouldn't be too hard, and I'm not required now to like wax poetically like David Novak. So I didn't think I could replace him, I'll tell you that. But
you got some years of experience on us, but mostly he's all heart.
He's all what? I'm sorry?
He's all heart.
He's all part.
All heart.
Oh, all heart. Yes. No, I have wonderful respect for him. I would be loath to try to imitate anything that he does in regards to storytelling. I would have a good time, I think, basically, if I could just set a wonderful tone for the thing and then hand it off to Don or Wall, whoever speaks first. That's really the person who's setting the tone, obviously, and you're just the preamble. But still, it was big thoughts that I had now. But then when it got, you know, it was like, okay, no, we're having this happen, and then this happened because Don wants to speak first, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of figured that was going to happen, so I wasn't too worried about it, because I was like, someone's going to look and go, do we really want him to be the first speaker of the day? You know, the thing that everyone sees. So obviously, they thought that they would have a better chance doing something else, and I don't think it. I didn't take it as an insult because of the fact that they've never seen me on stage before. So I mean, there's not a lot of footage of that. What is my what? Oh, he did a couple weddings. That's great. He DJ'd once. Well, for a while actually, but still, it's not like I did lay reading in church, but uh, you know, I did that for many years. But that doesn't necessarily make me a good master of ceremonies, untested, for a whole conference. So,
Well, the fact that somebody up there in the titular group wanted you there is sufficient, I think, for you to know that they want very much for you.
oh, I'm certain of that. I'm glad. See, this is the thing. I'm wondering if that's like. Well, you got me all paranoid myself now. See me, I'm all being all paranoid. But
Pronoia, right?
pardon?
Pronoia. I think we may have discussed it.
I don't know.
Pronoia is the acknowledgement that there is a conspiracy, but it's one to help you.
Ooh, yeah. There's a little bit of that. But it's
that's gnosis.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in a. I think basically it's a situation of good hearts and coming with good intentions, and trying to to do the better for the whole organization, the whole paradigm, and even with what's going on, I'm still going to continue that. So
it'll be electric, Neil.
I think it's going to be fantastic.
There, beaming light on everyone as when I met you, and everybody will rejoice in that light.
Yes, you said I had a beaming smile.
No, you just beam like a star.
I'm very happy to be there. I'll tell you that.
As am I, and I look forward to seeing you.
I look forward to seeing everyone again, and I really like being. Pardon?
What about Cameron?
Well, she's definitely included in that. I'm so excited.
Wildly happy for you on that front.
Me too.
I told this person, I said, you know what? Let's just measure his success with Cameron because she's the real deal.
Yes, she is. Like, she thinks that I'm sweet and adorable, and I don't know if she's thinking like that he's so. Like she even said, "You're not real. You're not like." Well, I'm the guy that likes singing Queen songs in the car and relaxing to whatever, I love, I'll have classical music. I'll have whatever. Then I'll have jokey songs. I don't want my life to be like, I don't know. I'm not a heavy metal man. I'm not, but I like what I like. But I love music. I love being inspired by poetry and songs and art, and especially words. Just the way that they can have such a profound impact.
We love, Neil, when you just open up in front of them privately. They love that. It's very endearing to them.
Yeah, well, she thought until I actually showed up in California, she was questioning whether or not this was really real. Like, are you insane? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of insane, but not, in the creepy way.
He says with a creepy laugh.
Well, I mean, come on. You're not going to be the type of guy that's, when she said, well, I have something to do in 4 days. I was like, so are we hanging out for 4 days? Like, not even I'm going to try to move in with you weird vibe, and not I'm going to try to take you away or do anything to control you. Just, if you want to, we can hang out for 4 days. She was like, oh my God. By the time in 4 days was over, she was like, I don't want you to go. but I even said to her, you said that you had to be somewhere. You have to go. So
the way I said to this person was that I despise Guile. But I've always taken you to be without guile, which is to say guileless.
I understand guile, although I have been duped myself because sometimes I wander through life with this sort of like thinking that like, why would you do that? Like, well, why would you do? I can't imagine why you would be so mean to this person, or like, I mean, and that's only gotten worse as I got older in some cases, but I've become, I used to play, like when people play games with me, they hated, like they hated it sometimes because I will try to win sometimes if I'm playing that way. Other times it's just a lot of fun and I'm just playing a game. But then they took it personally. And I've said, hey, I'm playing a character. The character is an 800-year-old vampire and it's going to try to kill you because it sees you as a threat. I'm sorry that I'm really smart and maneuvered you into a situation which got you killed. But that's the way I roll in a game where we're supposed to be Machiavellian and evil. But that's what the game's about, you know. And reality, I love that.
Niccolo Machiavelli, in truth, according to biographies, was a very gentle, very loving.
Well, either way, what it turns into is basically conniving. I like being conniving and cunning, and I can only be conniving and cunning in a situation where you are conniving and cunning with other people who are other humans, and then you're playing against them in a social setting. That's very hard to arrange. So you have to like play role-playing games, basically, and you're trying to get that fixed because you can't do that in real life. You can't actually become a king and start beheading people. You can't try to maneuver and have your sister murdered. You can't, you know, like these are not normal things that you would ever possibly do in real life. But in fiction and in games like that, they're incredibly entertaining. And nothing really happens because it's just a piece of paper. And that person's obviously still goes out and hangs out with you later. And, you know, you could still be boyfriend and girlfriend if you wanted to, even though you just had her killed or whatever, you know, like it's just a game, right? So that's, so I enjoy that, but at the same time, I don't enjoy what normal people get out of it. Like those people who are supposed to be doing it for evil purposes. I don't have that drive, you know, like it's not for me.
The ones who go for fun in real life.
Yeah, I have nothing. I really care about people. And some people, you're right. Some people have considered that, like, it just, another person thought I was like some sort of loony because I was like, how can you be not left and not right? And I'm like, well, number one, or liberal, how can you not be liberal and conservative? I go, well, I'm liberal and conservative. That's not really that hard.
Yeah, me too.
And he's like, what do you mean? It goes, well, I totally understand some of the conservative values, and I totally understand liberal ideals. And this is where this comes into, because some of them are very honest and well thought out, like spend within your means, a conservative approach to conserve nature. These are two things that I think are important. Liberal, however, I'm free to do whatever you want. However, I'm also I'm pretty much socially conservative in the sense that I'm conservative in the way that I dress, and I try not to be too liberal in my expression of who I am. But that doesn't mean that I don't mind that you do that either. So this is
good, sensible parents who love you.
Well, I guarantee that.
Well,
they just celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary.
Well, I wish them peace and well-being above all things in the world.
Yeah, I get to see them tomorrow. It's going to be great. And my sister.
Dude,
and
awesome.
Her husband-to-be. So, yes, that's going to be great. And I'm... yeah, I haven't seen them since Christmas, so... Well, a little after Christmas, I think, but...
God, I hadn't seen mine in a couple of decades, and they've all come back around. Personally, come to me in person.
I can't even understand that.
It's like a life gift. It's like,
See what I mean? I can't even understand that. That's what I mean. I don't even mean to be rude about that. It's like I cannot envision a situation in which my parents were not present. Like, you know,
oh, no,
like they.
no, the parents are still these stubborn, stalwart, absolutely indefatigably convinced of their own narrative. But the kids, we're starting to reunite as the next generation and so forth. And we love them, and we wish them first above everything, peace and well-being. So it's nothing against them.
Well, you come from a place that's a little paranoid anyway. Yeah, and you come from a place where people are divided in a much more firmer way. There's
You mean
no.
America? You mean America?
Well, I kind of meant your general place, but it was in a few other places too. People are like, I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know why, and I can't explain it, but it's I think I understand now, and I don't, and it's not an insult, but because America doesn't see it, I don't think, because they're in it, but it's a very religiously fundamental countries where beliefs are fundamental, and that's weird to me, because like if someone goes, I'm politically conservative, like that means that they generally voted for the Conservative Party in the last election here. If you're generally a liberal, you generally voted for the Liberal Party. But the trouble is that the conservatives and liberals here represent the values, generally speaking, and but neither one of them can remove healthcare. Like neither one of them could make like they could never. Well, I don't know what they can do. A few things, I suppose, but they can't. They can't totally go against the will of the people without the people fucking murdering them. And I don't mean like with murder guns. I mean like politically murder. Like you'd be out on your ass so fast. They could have a by-election and have you out in 2 weeks. You know, like so. It's
all of my favorite voices are from England or Canada these days on the internet. So
all your favorite what?
People's voices.
Oh, well, I don't like. I'm not really like when people were talking about America. I mean, obviously you're in Canada, so you're just sitting there looking out the window, you know, going, "Holy shit, what's going on down there?" And you guys were like literally at each other's throats. And there's this. I mean, clearly, from me, my point of view, it seems to stem very clearly from simply not saying you're sorry. Just people don't apologize enough because for some reason it lends to the idea you're going to get open to a lawsuit or something.
Yeah, but I didn't vote. I have loved ones on both sides of that battle, and I'm the bridge.
But that's so odd because we don't even have a battle. Like we have an election, and we have a new prime minister. We kind of knew that the other guy was going to go out because he was making stances that were kind of weird. He was trying to scream about terror, and people were like, "But we're not afraid of terror." And then they were like, "Oh, well, you know, crime." And it goes, "Yeah, but we don't have any crime." So he was like, "But marijuana." It goes, "Okay, now you have to go. You're being crazy. So just get out of here." So then the next prime minister gets in here, and he's like my age, and he's like, let's light them up. So now the whole country is now decriminalized, and it will be legal July 1st of next year, which means you'll be able to purchase it. You can purchase it now. Like people are starting their own online companies and shit. So,
well, mail me some pot, okay? And I'm glad you voted Trudeau.
I didn't vote.
Oh, you didn't vote? I didn't either.
No, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm technically a card-carrying member of the NDP, but which you don't have any version of that.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what the hell is the NDP?
Well, we have 5 political parties.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so we have the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party. They usually swap sides. However, the Conservatives did have a minority government earlier on, which led to some interesting situations. I'll tell you about that in a second. Then we have the New Democratic Party. We have the Green Party, and we have the Marijuana Party. Now, the Marijuana Party obviously is not really that big a deal, but the fact that they were always running made this a whole thing a success, because basically just by putting every single ballot said Marijuana Party, just right on the thing. So people were like, clearly it was a political statement. The Green Party has continued. They're getting pretty good. So we're really down to 4 major contenders. The NDP is basically what you guys might call socialist, democratic socialist. But, well, that's because it's not, I mean, Canada's a capitalist country with very strong democratic socialist concepts in it. And this has happened naturally over the years because we're a parliamentary democracy. So you can yell back and forth. No one's a royalty here. No one's. So like the Prime Minister of Canada doesn't get to sit there and say, you shut up and listen to me talk. No, if the other guys on the other side of the cabinet don't like what he said, they slam their fist down and say, get the fuck out of here, you fucking asshole. And they'll scream at them right across the whole thing. So how are you supposed to pretend that you're regal? If you get all high and mighty on your own petard, then they're going to just make fun of you, right? So you're never going to be able to, I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes they make a speech and you're saying something that everyone agrees with, and that no one's jeering that. Everyone, they go along and they say it, and or they're making things to the press, but people can jeer you right in front of the press. Like if people go, fuck you, like you can't just walk around and pretend that you're all high and mighty. Even if you're just the prime minister, you're just the head turd.
We could use a bit of that where everybody's in it for the principle.
Well, yeah, because you want to be able to because if you get too pompous, that makes authority happen. You got to basically put everyone in their own place, realize they're just people, and you're just trying to run a country. And obviously there's they had some anti-terrorism things that they were trying to. People were not being cool with that because, I mean, people are like, if you ask people over where I'm from what scares them most, they would probably say moose. Like terror? No, moose. Moose will kill you. Terror? No, I've never heard of that. Is that a type of bread? I mean, don't get me wrong. We're worldly enough to understand that there's a whole whack of shit going on. But the only terror that we had, recently, swear to God, this is the weirdest stuff. We had a kid who was radicalized by Trump's speeches go into a mosque and shoot 5 people. That's the kind of terror we have to deal with. So that's only, but to be perfectly honest, that only happened that one time. The other time happened at least 8 years earlier, at least, and maybe 5. But either way, it was a long time ago, and it was only like 2 cops got shot that time, or something, and that's it. So, I mean, we've had 600 and I think we're over 700 and something police officers die in the line of duty ever.
Wow.
See? So it's kind of hard to understand when things go crazy like that, because you don't want, obviously people are, I mean, there's like when I explained to my friend, and he's a good guy, and he was like, no, these immigrants are a problem. Don't you understand? They're coming over here freeloading, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, okay, well, besides the fact that they do pay taxes, let's just accept that. And they don't really claim anything. So let's put that whole thing aside there for a second. Why don't you just solve the problem? Because obviously they get over here on visas and stuff, and then they don't leave. And he goes, yeah, so we have to stop them from getting in. And goes, well, yeah, but the wall won't help. because they come over on visas, right? They get in the wall. The wall is just a thing you have to pass at that point. So
Right.
he was like, well, then how you stop? And goes, well, do the same thing that other countries do, or like, for example, Canada does. What's that? If you hire people that are not allowed to work in Canada, we fine the shit out of you. Simple, isn't it? So what are they going to do? Well, either if you want to live in Canada, you can. You better be independently wealthy or declare refugee status, or officially move. You know, if you want to come the legal way, that's perfectly fine too. But you're not going to get a job. I mean, how you? I mean, there's not a lot of under the table jobs for you because everyone's above board. You know, so.
Must be nice.
Well, I also noticed that when I was down there about like how people could just build a building and no one comes and inspects it or anything. It could just be made out of plywood and driftwood and assembled in the desert, and that's okay.
Wow, you must have been visiting Albuquerque.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, I mean, not just there, but all over there. And I know that it's a different type of environment and stuff like. Yeah, but it's definitely warm. Up here, you really need to make sure, like, you can't sell a house without passing standards. And the inspectors are not people you can bribe. And you can't bribe the MLAs. I mean, if anyone got caught taking money, you're fucked. Like, I mean, if you took money, you're dead. You're just gone.
If you won't take the money, you're fucked here.
That's the problem. It's legalized bribery and it's corruption by definition. So,
yeah.
I mean, we still have a prime minister who has problems now. Still, he left office. Okay, Mulrooney. So this is before. So this goes. We have Justin Trudeau. Before him was Stephen Harper. Before him was Jean Chrétien, and before him was Mulrooney. Now Mulrooney. Well, technically, I skipped over the first female prime minister as well. But anyway, only because she didn't get elected in, she only ran the Conservative Party after Mulrooney was forced to step down because he had a dinner. Someone else paid for that dinner, not him, and that was considered bribery.
Damn.
Yeah, we take that thing kind of seriously.
But somebody does.
Well, because otherwise you're corrupt, right? So you could imagine why when we, like, cops, like traffic cops, can only do things traffic related. Like, you can't. I mean, unless there's obviously the situation of plain view. If you're sitting there with, like, you know, although since weed is decriminalized, that's technically not a crime anymore.
Good.
But obviously, well, some of the problems come in now of very simple things like, how are people supposed to get supply? Like, let's say you want to sell something online in little baggies or whatever. Okay. Or turn it into soup or whatever, bakery, baked goods, whatever. I don't care. Make a whole line of it. Doesn't matter. The point is, you make this stuff, and how do they get the stuff? Like, I mean, I want to make thousands and thousands, so that means I have to buy pounds and pounds. See? So I'm not going to go buy little bit by little bit just so I can bring it here in little packages so that I don't get in trouble. No, I should be able to bring a whole dump truck full. Like, I want that much.
Yeah.
You know. So this is the state we're at. And there's a whole lack of other people who are in the situation where now because it's completely decriminalized now, they're going back into the hemp market's blowing up. Like hemp rope, hemp clothing, hemp everything. Because obviously it's a much more durable product than cotton. So hemp pancakes, that's a good one. Obviously making Well, and making the stalks really thick is the next process now, because we want to try to make it into building materials so that we don't have to like toilet paper or stuff like that. So we don't have to waste trees. We can let our trees grow back, basically.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because you can grow that shit like, well, literally like a weed.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it is, right? That's why.
I know all about it.
Yeah. So, but we have some forestation issues that we're trying to get rid of. And this is another thing that I always wondered. Why are people like, this really pisses me off to no full extent when I hear about people going, well, the carbon dioxide's rising. It has to be human activity. And I go, well, yeah, probably in a little other ways too. Do you know that we chopped the fucking trees down? You know, they breathe. Like, that's what they get rid of. And if we remove that, we're stupid. But it'd be nice to, let's see. I'm an alternate energy guy who doesn't want pollution, who doesn't necessarily believe in climate change. It's a very weird place to be. Plus, sit there and go, I have questions about evolution, but not be a Bible thumper. That's tough. Or not a creationist. And I also want to have question geology, but not be a creationist. It's a tough road to walk on. Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, you have to, you know.
Like Pyro, or was it Pyro? Pyrrhonism, this school of philosophy of Greek thought, which was genuine skepticism.
Well, when you say anything with such certainty and your evidence is, well, the amount of material, radioactive material in this material indicates that. Well, yeah, but can you tell me how this mountain formed? Well, it formed like that, but that's not how it looks. You do understand there's no debris at the base, right? So, okay, well, but still. Okay, well, yeah, but still what? You didn't describe this phenomenon, and now you're trying to tell me it's X number of millions of years old? Don't get me wrong. I appreciate your number crunching, but this doesn't necessarily equate here.
Well, so I have... you are, Chill. It sounds like you've been sucked in.
Oh, yeah, I'd be the worst kind of shill. Totally in favor.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm really totally in favor of everything that they do. In fact, I mean, this whole the whole gravity issue that we saw recently on Thunderbolts was great. That's a good thing to talk about. I mean, obviously, it's not something that people are. People are actually looking at that a little bit more carefully now, I guess.
I feel like we're nearing, and everybody says this every year, but we're nearing the breaking point, the tipping point.
That's the name of some of the stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I would say that you are correct in the sense that nothing's going to stop it now. The only thing that could possibly ever derail it was the flat earth mumbo jumbo, and that seems to be dropping off now. It's still there, don't get me wrong, but it's still it's not being linked to us in the sense that it's not valid. And no one, you know, I mean, I can tell you electrically what's going on with a metal ball immersed in plasma, the same way I can tell you how the planet works, generally speaking. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm 100% right, but compared to where I was even thinking like last year, I am miles ahead of where I was. So we really need to, like, in fact, I've got things to draw about it, like the capacitor plate model, the idea, like my numbers coming up from just doing rough calculations, because these are calculable numbers. Like I was just doing them not too long ago, like when I was calculating, okay, what is the voltage across the planet? We know that. We know the distance between the two capacitor plates. So we plug those into the capacitor plate formula, but instead of solving for voltage, we rearrange the formula and solve for plate distance. When you start doing that, you can begin to understand the exact mechanism that causes the plates to retract during earthquakes. It's, I mean, therefore causing inductance, therefore causing the earthquake. So when you understand what's occurring, and then I started extrapolating a bit further, trying to understand how mazes worked. And then I started going back, I stepped back a little bit and realized that's exactly how the balls of fire from the sky work too. Fireballs. And because it's the same principle, based on, it's a charge-based principle, basically. And that's why it's, I mean, it's still described in some circles as a pressure, like the solar wind pressures on the wind of around the magnetic field of the earth and causes it to vibrate or something. That's kind of crap, because what's really going on is that there's actually a barrier.
You accept that Flat Earth Larry is Flat Earth Larry.
Who's that?
On a flat Earth.
What about?
His Earth is flat. Can you accept that as not wrong?
What?
Flat Earth Larry. You don't know who that is?
Obviously not. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, that's Chris from A Microwave Planet. He has a cousin in Hawaii.
Oh, Chris Fontenot kicked me off of that.
He kicked me off too. Don't feel bad.
Oh, I don't. He's
Hey, we love Chris. We'll talk to him about it when we see him.
Yeah, and he'll. Well, I just assume that he was having a bad moment, and that's it. But I have nothing against him. So.
No. We'll get it all sorted out. Sounds like miscommunication to me. But he doesn't in Hawaii. He calls Flat Earth Larry, and he he's got all this turmoil with Flat Earth Larry being wrong. And I'm like, no, Chris, Flat Earth Larry is not wrong. If he lives on a flat Earth, then God bless him and his flat Earth, and we send him all our love to his flat Earth.
Okay. I don't obviously have any inclination that that's correct, but
yes, well, you can give him not wrong. Can't you? At least one particle of possibly not wrong, that he lives on a different realm that's a flat realm, that's a flat Earth.
Well, if he wants to, but
yes,
I wouldn't base any decisions on that work.
Yes, you don't see how that's going to forward the overall cause of humanity. I'll accept that, yes.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. When that Riverworld series came out and they were riding on the back of that flying turtle thing, flying through space or whatever, that was brilliant shit. And that was fantastic fantasy telling. And I'm totally on board with any craziness you wish to put forth in the fantasy or science fiction realm. That's the reason it's there. But obviously, I mean, I can't undo, like I can't even, again, one of those situations that you cannot fathom how someone did not learn that. Like, how did you not go to Boy Scouts? How did you not learn that?
Hold on, it would be, I know maybe you don't suffer fools gladly, but it is objectively evil to make them face what they won't face. It is their prerogative to live in as much of the realm that they want to live, for one thing. It's like,
right, but it's also
Larry's head and get him to go on a spaceship and take him up into space and be like, look, Flat Earth Larry, I'm sorry you forced me to initiate force on you. Because the only one initiating force.
No. That's not appropriate either. But what you're supposed to do though is you're supposed to correctly dismiss shit like that. And I mean, if you're if you're like, I mean, I'll entertain a conspiracy. I don't mind that. But I do have a problem with trying to, for some reason, force public policy or something with that. That's a little crazy. But this is why when people think it's very weird when they go, but they're doing the same thing with climate change. It goes, right, but they think they're right, and it's been politically controlled. Therefore, it's not science, but they don't know that yet. They think they're still using science. I appreciate that they're trying, but they simply don't understand their assumptions and won't understand it until later anyway. So there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing I can say is thank you for at least promoting science as best as you can, because it's a lot better than promoting, not critical thinking. Like that's be like, no, just believe what I say. No, that's not appropriate. We have to teach people to critically think and understand that things that are contrary to experiment are simply wrong.
What, have you gone out and done flat Earth experiments?
Have I? Yes. I drove across the country. I can tell you with my own eyes that the Earth is round.
10 miles long.
I went for a drive from the 45th parallel all the way down to where you are, which is what parallel?
Oh, I don't know. 22nd.
You're not that close to the equator.
Okay.
But you're 30. Somewhere in the 30-something, I think. Anyway, just that alone, because of the fact that I'm in that perfect position on the Earth where if you look at directly straight up in the sky and you look straight at the horizon at a 45-degree angle, which is basically a perfect, 45 is easy to understand what that is. That's where the North Star is. That's where it is. And I can find that using the Big Dipper. Now, when I went down to your neck of the woods, that was significantly lower on the horizon. I could tell just from that alone clearly that I was on a globe. You didn't need anything else. I'm not an idiot. And you can go even further, obviously, since obviously the time kept shifting as I kept going the other direction. And then, wow, as I lagged on the way back.
So to say, no, you haven't done any real experiments like with lasers across, lake beds or anything.
Well, okay, that's I would classify that as real, but because that's really happened. I really did do that, but
no. But I mean, you didn't definitely take a controlled experiment. We predicted the results.
Well, I don't think I needed to. I don't think I needed to notice the star move. That's all I meant. I mean,
hey, look, man. I believe that you live on a globe, and I assign that a.
No, I'm just trying to be accurate.
Yes,
I mean, in
I
the
find
sense,
your report of living on a globe to be highly acceptably true.
Well, no, I wasn't even trying to. I just meant in the sense that I did do that, and obviously you're kind of. I mean, I suppose my measuring stick was my arm, and my actual degrees was intuition, but it was definitely lower in the sky. Therefore, I travel closer to the equator. But however, when I was a child, not even that young a child, I was in Scouts, and in those situations, I am positive we did something. Oh yes, we had this whole thing on building and telling the time via a sundial, and how to do that. So that was very important, and obviously a wondrous, as a child, as someone young. Well, I guess I was 13 or 14, but it was still a wonderful thing. I was in Loyalist Village in King's Landing, which is a reenactment village, which it's the set of a few movies. It's on the St. John River, just north of Fredericton, and it's got to fire a musket. That was pretty cool. I can't believe now that was 23 years ago. No, wait, No, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Sounds like good times.
Oh, 30 years ago. Holy crap, I'm getting old. Anyway.
Welcome to the my son.
But still, that was but yeah, and it's basically kept in the pristine condition of that particular area. So, but that's what. Anyway, I guess in that sense, I guess I have done an experiment, but also learning how to survey, and I did that with my father as well. So that was. I guess I didn't really check to see if the land I didn't check the curve of the Earth because I never built anything or made something that big. But
I have no problem letting both the flat Earth and the globe Earth live with equal acceptability within me in the face of graceful uncertainty.
I'm not gracefully uncertain about it. But if I'm not. You can believe whatever the hell you want. If you're a flying spaghetti monster guy, go ahead. If you believe that the aliens are running the U.S. government, feel free. If you believe that evangelical Christianity is the way to go, that's also fine. Pink unicorns are also cool. I'm into everything.
You never be able to understand that I'm not faking it when I tell you that I assign percentages to these things.
I don't assign any percentages to anything. It's either if it's something hinges on an uncertain principle, then I have to examine that uncertainty and leave that with a big question mark, because it's really only one or two things. And usually, like, for example, when you're talking about the moon landing thing, I had some issues with regards to engineering concepts of remaining cool, how to get rid of excess heat as you built it up, and so on and so forth. The psychological conditions inside a small capsule and other things like that. Basically just real issues. But obviously I examined how they're solved today. That's clear. So you work on the very simple principles. So shouldn't be too hard.
So you're, for example, convinced of the total reality of your own existence.
I leave certain things open that, but not a lot. Like,
well, no, we should operate as if we exist.
Well, what I meant is that as much as I'd like to say that I'm 100% certain, there are certain things. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. The flamenco chronology. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, yeah.
So, in my head,
with flamenco's work. Yep.
Right. So I have to in my head judge that accordingly. Like, because there's no reason to suspect that the church wasn't being a lying sack of crap. And there's a lot of reason to suspect that they would cover up any of their own crimes. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they did. But this has to be taken with a grain of salt with regards to the Reformation and the Scaliger chronology. So you go look at flamenco's chronology versus Scaliger, and you can see that there are some really, really convincing flamenco chronologies. The trouble is that I don't know certain things after a certain point, and I have to try to reinterpret them through both lenses. So as I go back and back and back and bring myself all the way to today, and look at my chronology backwards, basically I have to judge anything before 17 or before 1800 with some credulity, because I mean, there's some very interesting finds, even in Canada, that seem to indicate that our history is completely messed up. And what we have, I mean, it's a belief, a story that we told. And it doesn't really, I mean, the fact that it might be as erroneous as the Big Bang cosmology. In fact, it likely is because of their interweaving, because of the whole extended long periods of time motif, because it allows for the evolution to continue and allows for geology to continue and allows for cosmology to continue. But that doesn't mean that any of it's true. And if it has anything to do with what our histories actually say, seems to indicate that it was not true. I mean, when we go and find a giant underground city, that seems to indicate that we were prepared for something. You know, like just maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. I haven't been to any of those, but I've heard reports of them.
No, of course. Well, yeah, but when you look at the amount, you're simply going to have to accept that that was. I mean, you don't. It lends a lot of credence to the idea of the Clash of the Titans or something of that magnitude, where there was a legitimate concern that was foreseeable, and with enough time to allow them to complete a massive undertaking, even if they had to do it all at once, which would be, for example, the 8-year Venus cycle. That could be one. That would make them scared, which would also indicate why the Mayans paid close attention to Venus, for example. That doesn't mean that it's true, of course, but it was something that seemed to not be a one-off occurrence. It was something that hit them really hard, and they were like, holy crap, gotta not do that again. And it seemed that over time, like that's where I started looking at things like dolmens and so forth, where I started wondering, what would you do if you were, traveling through an area and suddenly there was a lightning storm? How would you survive that? Like, I don't mean like a thunderstorm like today. I mean like firestorm, because that's what a lightning storm would be like. It would be, if you had that much extra energy in a much shorter time frame, then these things would rove across the landscape, just striking everything in range. And they would probably notice that high things in mountains tend to get hit with that. So they built things that are connected directly to the ground, right to the bedrock. And they would attract lightning. That's something that I never thought of. But it sort of came with the idea of the massive obelisks and so forth that seem to be around as well. Then, of course, that also lends to the idea that the church must be the highest structure in the area. And then I started wondering about all that. It doesn't mean that I obviously know anything, but I like to speculate in my own head. It makes you wonder.
It does.
Well, also, hell, stained glass makes me wonder. It makes me think, how the heck can you hold on to color for so long that, I mean, we just kept doing it. We kept painting the walls the same thing as we did from ancient Egypt until now. Holding on to that idea that the sky was completely messed up. Well, I don't mean messed up, but probably very pretty, with huge purple auroras and all that wonderful stuff. They said way back when the idea of the flat earth continued, or it started, I guess, the preamble to it all, that the earth was like in a giant bowl, which makes sense from the northern hemisphere's perspective, because you'd see the rings down below to the south, and they would be the 7 seas, and you'd see the giant tree with the elephant or the turtles and whatever.
Bull.
Well, yeah, depending on that would change over time, yeah. But clearly it was started off as a tree, or at least seemed to be, and then changed over time. Clearly, the sword and the stone was probably the same thing, because you could tell where swords are from depending on where you're at. I mean, only the people from the northern Europeans went with the straight sword, because it was the sword and the stone with the giant cross with the leather of the hilt being the Birkeland current twisting up, and then the ball at the top, the red ball, the red jewel, the pommel. That's always the same. But of course, when you go a little bit to the equator, you get scimitars and katanas, which were clearly much more visible from the commentary form, basically being more visible. And they made swords out of that form. I assume that they made a religious item, and then someone picked it up and hit somebody over the head with it and said, you know what, we should sharpen this. It's a good idea. That's where morning stars came from. I mean, it's just a comet. Whack! That's all it is. Just kill them with a stick. It's kind of like the, what was it, footprint of Buddha or the wheel of Buddha? You know, when Dave Talbot was talking how the wheel never was really moved. It seemed that they developed the wheel after it was no longer a religious symbol, and they sort of rolled it down a hill and were like, hey, we can put an axle in that bitch.
So how do you feel about entheogenic experiences like ayahuasca, LSD, things like that?
I'm not against them. I would probably say that my life is better for a few experiences. I'd probably say that I'm quite convinced that I'm 163 years old.
Oh, very nice.
My fiance says that she's 1600. So we'll take that as what you will. But I don't. But I recognize that one instance.
Well, actually, by objective measures.
Well, I just meant that I grew, and my wisdom seemed to blossom from that experience. I rewrote a lot of bad code and changed my life after that.
Yeah.
Well, it made me realize what was important.
Place and you stayed there.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't say that. I say that I changed for the better, since I never really did anything before that experience, so it was quite powerful.
Did you take acid?
No, I had some mushrooms when I was 30.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
And yeah, so 120 years later, I came down, and I was a bit different, but not messed up different. Like, I reevaluated what was important, and some things that were not important no longer mattered anymore. So I had to go away.
That's so good. That's how that works, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I grew as a person. I really, basically, I felt like I brought if I was speaking in Dungeons and Dragons scores, I would say that I brought my wisdom up to my intelligence level, because I was wisdom was not very high. I was self-righteous with and not feeling. I know what I was. I would be equivalent to. Do you ever watch? Was it Different Strokes with Alex P. Keaton?
Yeah.
Him. But not really. That's what in my head I felt justified about that. That damn Canadian. And but I basically enjoyed the Reagan ideals and stuff like that. And then when I was in the 20s, I was like, what's the difference between America and Canada? Who really cares? And then that happened, and I became introspective with regards to what was important, and realized, obviously, love is important, family is important.
The longest journey inward.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to make sure that they were. I felt it was a good experience, and I don't mind those experiences. In fact, more than anyone else I know, I look for those experiences. However, that said, I'm a I'm a very controlled person in that sense. I don't allow myself to go wandering or anything. Some people want to experience some sort of, rush of life or something. I don't think I could deal with that kind of crap around people. I'm much more of a, like take it all safe and slow.
Well, have you ever seen a UFO or a ghost or?
No.
Well, you may.
Huh?
Well, you may.
I may, will I?
I think you might.
Well, I can't really see any. I mean, I could envision a situation, and I've heard stories that, like, I've heard ball lightning, I've heard other things like that.
Yeah.
But when you boil down ghost stories to their constituent parts and you go back into history with them, I mean, a salt ring, the smell of sulfur, I mean, you're almost in a situation where you're like, oh, so it's some sort of electrical event, just like when the blue flames were coming out of on the island of Sicily. I think it was like 2003, and the Roman Catholic Church declared that they were demons because a magma flow was underground, creating positive charge. Come on, boys, you're an idiot. Like.
I'll give you an example, if I may.
You was sure.
In the hospital, I knew they were in the hospital. I knew they weren't well. And I went out in the backyard. It was a frigid day, and I saw them, a feral version of them, for lack of a better term, a doppelganger of them, which was all wrong, a very feral version. I don't have another word for it. And so real was this thing that I saw that I approached it in a rush. I rushed across the yard and got many paces before it just kind of disappeared into light and shadow. And it wasn't until 6 months later that I found out, well, doppelgangers are seen when you have a loved one who is sick or dying. And I was like, whoa. And so it fit exactly in.
Well, then you asked the wrong question. The question should not be, have you seen UFOs or ghosts? Because no. But have you had an experience that you could not explain?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I have.
It didn't even have any meaning. You didn't know there was a universal meaning to it until you found out later.
Yeah. I found out that I had a dream about my grandfather. He was smiling. He was happy. The entire family was there. We were all gathered around, and we were all being very friendly to each other, shaking hands, hugging, and stuff like that. But the thing is that I've never seen him smile in my entire life. And that was the day that he learned that he had pancreatic cancer and he was going to die. And he was dead within a week.
Wow.
So that was an experience that I can't explain, but I told my mom about it, and then she told me that Grampy was sick. So I knew. But the thing is that when people talk about that to me, I don't see that thing as a psychic experience. I'm with what's his name? Rupert Sheldrake on this particular one. There is a lot of evidence that these events are somehow transmitted, that we're somehow receiving or somehow sensing this over distances, and your brain is attempting to interpret it and send you the signal, send you the information. You got it in the form of a vision, which I'm not surprised, considering you have mentioned that you've had these type of experiences before, where I would have to experience them in a dream. The only time that I have a hallucination is when I'm about to get hit with a bus or something. Like, that's the only time I'm going to be receiving one. And that's usually your mother screaming, "Look out," or the minor one where you just lock your keys in your car, and just as the door shuts, you hear "No," like that type of thing. Those things are the type of experiences that you expect because your brain is conditioned, is a reflexive response to a stimuli. But that one is your body simply trying to tell you something that your brain knows. It's picked up the signal. It's like radio broadcast coming in, but your body, your other mind has been taught to ignore those signals. I mean, simply, it's just been trained to ignore that.
Other mind.
Well, yeah, just in the Julian Jaynes sense of the bicameral mind, yeah, like that there is another you inside you, and that's very clear. Obviously, I mean, anyone who's studied schizophrenia, anyone who's studied like just allowing your aggression, sometimes when you let aggression come out, you can feel it taking over, or when you're in shock. You get hit by a car or something and you're not even thinking anymore. Or I have the same experience when drunk. When I was in Phoenix last year, I had I got heat stroke, and I was no longer conscious, but my body took me right to my bedroom. Like it knew where to go. It knew what was going on. Yeah, clearly. And but that's my other brain. My other brain was clearly knew what we're doing. Andy,
called your heart.
No, I call it my other brain. My brain's divided into two pieces. One's my brain that I think is me, and the other one is the other brain. The one that does the other stuff, like that drives the car where I'm pretending to daydream. Yeah, it's the one that's driving the car, singing the lyrics while I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, I got to go here, I got to do that, I got to do this, got to do that. And that's what you're doing. That's your conscious brain. It's doing whatever it's doing. Your other brain is the one driving the car, shifting gears and all that shit. I mean, you don't think about putting your one foot in front of the other. You never get anything done. Like you're riding on top of this. This is where, martial arts training is, comes in and stuff like that. It's not, it's not you, but it's you, It's actually more you than you are, probably. It's the real you. But it only... Well, yeah. When you sit there and when you think about it, you ask it questions and everything like that. And of course it responds to you. So really, you're talking to yourself, but I don't mean you're really talking. I don't actually think I'm talking to someone. I recognize that there's something that, it's the same thing Buddhists talk about, really. They want to find balance because they recognize that these wants and needs inside of your own head create all this sadness and suffering and all the pain that you're experiencing. And you know what? They're fucking right. So when you go and realize that these things are pulling at you and driving you nuts, you can calm the hell down. It's just the first thing of recognizing your other brain. This is extrapolated on in the whole, in an odd way, the Jedi versus Sith concept. Because if you think about the Buddhist way as being sort of the Jedi way, then the Sith way is more like the secret, where you basically go and yell at yourself in a mirror and you tell yourself to do it and screw everything if it doesn't do everything that you want to do. Now, that's a little bit harsh for me. I prefer, don't get me wrong, positive thinking and all that, but sometimes you can do it when you go, I can't figure out this problem. I was thinking about it and thinking about it. I need some reflection. Let me think about this. And then I'll go to sleep. And almost every time when I wake up, the answer's already there. It's thought about it for me. It's done its job while I was sleeping. Because it was working. Yeah. It was doing its thing. And
I found that with learning math.
Exactly. That's exactly what I used it for when I was using engineering. But I also use it, like just last night, I had to come up with a name for what I wanted to call this thing and all this other stuff I need to do. And lo and behold, I had a great concept when I woke up in the morning. So this is the way that I like to vision it. But But yeah, like the Sith might be someone who's trying to let that rule you, because you are extremely powerful when you let the God out. And in a way, I recognize that in other people when you're allowing your charisma to pick the words for you. Like right now, I'm sitting there talking to you, and my words are coming out of my mouth. I'm not picking them. I'm just trying to express a feeling, and it's picking them all for me and lining them up very nicely and coming out and saying it in a wonderful way. And I'm just trying to think about my next concepts that might come out and how it relates to what we're talking about. But I'm not really picking the words. It's very odd when you think about it. Talking itself is amazing, that we're using gestural grunts and groans and able to get across a concept.
Just think, yeah, where are all those thoughts coming from?
Well, that's what I mean. They're coming from your other brain. I mean, it's picking the words for you. I'm not.
They're coming from somewhere, that's for sure. You don't have
Well, yeah. I mean, I recognize that. Well, this is one of the things that helps to give yourself some perspective, is to recognize that it's there. If you think of yourself as you and you don't acknowledge the other half of you, then the other half of you is constantly going to be pissed off and resentful that it's never getting its own fair shake. But if you're like, well, no, my other me wants to go sing songs. You know, if you feel like I'm all pent up and stuff and I'm all kind of grumpy, well, that's it. It's the one that's making you that way, because it's constantly going, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, I want out of here. Hey, I want out of here. Hey, I want out of here. That's all it's yelling in your head. You know it. You've heard it. So go do something about it. Go for a drive. But people nowadays, they say, when you feel this way, they're not even trained to listen anymore. It's very odd. You're so staticky, it's not even funny.
No, that's my vape. Sorry, that's my vape. You're just hearing my vape going.
Oh.
So I think you're probably hearing me okay now, right?
Am I going to be okay?
You really can't hear me, huh?
Well, not really. It's just a bunch of static most of the time.
That's really not. That's just drag.
Well, I hope it's not recording that way, because otherwise it's going to be crap.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right. I hope it's not recording that way. So why don't we leave off for now, and we'll check how the results came out, and try this again very soon, like no more than a week.
Well, like I said, go get TeamSpeak, and then when you see me on, just say hi, because we're there all the time.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Like all the time.
That sounds like quite a party.
Well, I mean, it's not always a happening place, but you can imagine that every evening when everyone starts getting on, I mean, there's only like our personal friends right now, but sometimes other people come in, and then we go and get, and then we play a lot of games. I mean, you could also join in for that too, because we'll be more than happy to play games if you're doing that.
You guys play role-playing games?
Well, we play everything.
Oh. You play old-fashioned D&D?
Well, I've probably ran more Dungeons and Dragons games than most people alive. I probably ran for 5,000 hours of games.
Good.
But
right
now we're playing DDO online all the time, so we do that.
Are you old enough to have been a DM or a GM?
Well, I guess my first character was made in '84, but the first time I started numbering my characters and everything like that was September 10th, 1986. And I've been playing games and running games since the 80s.
Fuck, Neil, that's awesome.
Yeah, I stopped around 2007.
Why?
Well, Well, because to be perfectly honest, I was getting into the electric universe, and it was much more interesting to me to actually study another paradigm. Because my whole job, when you're running a game, okay, when you're memorizing an entire campaign, right? That's one thing. When you're memorizing, then you have to memorize and interweave all the characters' backstories to make it interesting. That's a good one. But then you go expand into other games like Rifts and Shadowrun and other games. So you're playing all these games, you're memorizing all these campaign worlds, all this intricate stuff that you're bouncing off your friends because really only exists in your guys' heads, right?
Right.
And so then you continue on, and then I got into LARPing where you're running like 40 or 50 people, and so on. It gets bigger. And then I was playing in California in 2001, and it was over 1,000 people were at the event, all dressed up. Everyone's role playing. It was fantastic, wonderful time.
SCA or AMP card?
Oh no, it was Vampire the Masquerade stuff.
Oh.
So but it was good hearty fun. But obviously you're getting to a point where then I came across, because basically when I was in school, I already quote unquote learned everything about the world. Like, I mean, I was so interested in things that I read the encyclopedia set when I was a kid, right? So,
right.
Pardon?
I said, right.
Yeah. So, I just started with E and then went all the way back around. Then every time I got a yearbook, I had to go back and reference everything. I was my own little internet, right? So, and you said when someone goes, "What's that?" And it goes, "That's a hovercraft. That was the one that was developed in 1973 for the U.S. Navy. It was actually, and you're like, how do you know this, kid? Because my dad bought me an encyclopedia set, because that's the way it works.
Because you loved it. Because
and
you
I loved it.
That encyclopedia set, yes.
Yeah. So the internet was just wonderful, obviously. But when I finally came across, like I could describe the exact same things. Like here's the model of the universe through the Big Bang cosmology, and I could describe it to you in its elegance and wonder, and describe Einstein and all this other fun stuff. But then, obviously, when I came to the conclusion, my first thing was the expanding Earth. When I first hit that, I was like, wait. No. But then I'm looking over this globe, and I'm like, as much as I hate to admit it, that makes fucking sense. I mean, look at the maps here with the NOAA maps and the ages. You just take away the age layers and it seems to just shrink itself. Well, and then of course you're sitting there, there's no way that could happen though. And you're thinking, and there's no way that could happen. No way that could happen. And then you start thinking about the dinosaur. Oh, okay, that's, but because someone would point it out, right? But then you're like, wait a second, that would mean that the mass, as the planet got bigger, the mass got bigger. That can't be. That's because where'd the mass come from? That's mass. And then, of course, when Walt Thornhill pointed out, well, no, we don't know what mass means. And I was like, oh, right. But the point is that around 2007, 2008, I was introduced to the electric universe. And then, holy crap, it's been almost 10 years. Yeah. Anyway, and I've been... I still play my video games, but on the side, I was totally into this thing. So it became my passion, which I had to learn everything about it. So I did as best I could, anyway.
So we'll talk about paradigms and how they can change next time, perhaps.
Yes, we definitely shall. Well, yeah.
Excellent.
Anytime you want to hang out, then just hop on or whatever, and you'll be able to reach me anyway. So,
now what's the thing called again? Live.
What? TeamSpeak?
TeamSpeak. Okay, let me write that down.
Yeah, just go to teamspeak.com. It's called TeamSpeak 3. When you get it, you can basically log into any server you want. The point is that none of these servers are listed or anything. You have to know the address. So that's what. Basically, I'm just going to give you the address. This is not secured or anything, but I'm an admin, so it doesn't matter. We just kick people when we don't like them.
Kick the troll.
Pretty much, yeah.
Kick fire away.
All right, dude. You have a good one.
All right, man. All my best, very best, and fond wishes to you and yours, and I will speak to you soon.
You will. Take her easy.
Take care.